Hello, everyone. This is my 1 year review of the trucking industry. I started at CR England. I left CR England, went to Service One out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and now I'm with Big M out of Blue Mountain, Mississippi. To be honest with you, the trucking industry it's a good job. I wouldn't say that it's for everyone. I would say you would have to have a certain lifestyle or prefer a certain lifestyle to do this job and to be enthusiastic about it, to say the least. Um, the weeks do tend to get long. I haven't had much trouble from any dispatchers. I've been lucky in that area of the job so far. I've had great dispatchers, whether it was CR England. Yeah, Service One, the dispatchers were pretty much okay. And then I have a great dispatcher here at Big M. Um, at the end of the day, it's like I was saying. Uh, this job is better suited for someone who's single. I personally couldn't see myself doing this job if I was married or had children. I couldn't really see myself doing a job like this. You're gone too much. Uh, there's a lot of good opportunity on the road. You get to see a lot of places. You essentially get to go there for free. Uh, it's pretty easy to save money. Being on the road all the time, you really don't spend a lot of money unless you go home. Uh, there's a lot of different ways you can move up in the industry. I prefer right now to be a company driver. The company driver thing, no matter what company you go with, I would say it's a roll of the dice. Um, you could get lucky, like I have, honestly, because I've heard a lot of horror stories about dispatchers and companies. Uh, I've been lucky so far, but it's really just a roll of the dice. You don't know what to expect from the dispatchers or the companies when you get with anyone, because they're going to tell you whatever it takes to get you to sign to drive for them. Um, the pay with uh, Big M is pretty good. CR England's pay wasn't really that great, but then again, I did team driving for them. I never really drove solo for CR England. Uh, Service One, the pay was pretty good. I just didn't like going home every single weekend. I prefer to try to stay out 3 weeks to a month if possible. I say that because the longer you're on the road, the more money you're going to make because the more miles you're going to get. The less money you're going to spend the longer you're on the road too, because you're mostly just going to be buying food. Uh, there are opportunities to go and venture out into the towns. That's more of a right place, right time kind of scenario. Uh, I've been driving for a year and like 2 months now. I would say it's worth getting your. It's definitely worth getting your CDLs, but this is more of a job for a single person. I know there's going to be people out there who would disagree with me and say, "Oh, well, I'm married and I have kids and it hasn't been a problem." Um, Congratulations. I'm glad for you, because I don't see this being the type of job where I could be married to someone and do this. I just don't see that being a possibility. If you're single and you're just dating people, uh, you can pay so much money per month to have extra insurance to where someone can ride with you. So that does make it a little bit easier. And I guess if you don't have kids and the other person doesn't work anywhere, it's doable. But it's one of those right condition situations. Um, I would highly suggest, if you have a clean driving record and the manufacturing companies and maybe the unions and whatnot around the area that you live in aren't working out, I would say definitely look into getting your CDLs and get on the road. If nothing else, this job would be a great stepping stone, and it's a great way to save money, to put yourself in a better position. It's definitely worth doing. Um, there's really not a lot bad I can say about the trucking industry, really. I mean, it has its ups and downs. The worst, really the worst situation you're going to run into on the road, generally speaking, not including extreme scenarios where there's a possibility that you could get robbed or whatever. I mean, that comes with daily life. I'm speaking more toward the downsides of this particular field of employment. The truck breaks down out in the middle of nowhere, uh, and it's like 5 degrees outside. That's really a downfall to the job, because there's a possibility that could happen, especially during the winter. You never know what could happen. Um, I would say through my first year, I averaged about 2,000 miles a week. That's a good average between the three companies. Of course, there were weeks where I drove 2,500 to 2,800. There was a couple of weeks where I drove 3,100 miles in a week. Um, but I would say on average, including the bad weeks with the good to exceptional weeks, I would say that for my first year, I averaged about easily 2,000 miles a week, which is about you're going to generally average bringing home about $800 a week, generally speaking, depending on who you work for and how much they pay a mile. Um, each company's pay is different. Some companies pay you a flat rate of, you know, let's just say 40 cents, and some companies will pay you. It'll be 40 cents, but you'll get like 10 cents of it that's not taxed, and you'll get 30 cents of it that is taxed. It just depends on who you work for. The 10 cents that's not taxed generally works like a per diem. So, and that is important because they do ask about that on your taxes at the end of the year when you go to have your taxes done. Um, yeah, generally, so for a basic recap of my first year, I averaged about 2,000 miles a week. I brought home an average of about $800 after taxes. Um, Worst thing I had happen, honestly, was I tore the side mirror off a truck in Atlanta. Uh, yeah, back in trying to back up to a dock in a really narrow parking lot. Um, the upside of the business is you do get to travel. If you are a company driver, it is basically free travel. The company pays for the fuel, They pay for all the repairs of the truck. You know, the only thing that you pay for yourself is, you know, of course, your own personal bills, and then food. You know, so it's relatively cheap. You do have a place to stay. I mean, yeah, you are in the sleeper bay of the truck, but I mean, that is a place to stay. Um, the downside is you're gone a lot, you know. So having a personal life outside of the trucking industry is not exactly easy. And this is coming from the perspective of an over the road driver. I'm not a local driver. I don't, you know, drive a local route where I go 200 miles one direction and then I come back by the end of the day. I'm gone for anywhere from 2 weeks to a month at a time. Uh, and again, you know, I say this is definitely a career opportunity that someone could look into. There are lease purchase programs out there with companies. I've heard a lot of people say that it's best to steer clear of those. I don't mess with them personally. I have a friend. He's the one that got me. He's the one that taught me into becoming a truck driver. He does a lease program for the company that he works for, and he hasn't had any issue out of it. He could have just got lucky, you know. I've heard a lot of bad stories about, you know, people getting to where they only have like 3 or 4 payments left on the truck, and the company screw them over, and they end up losing the truck and losing all that money that they've spent on it. And these trucks don't come cheap. A lot of them, if you get a brand new one, even through a company, you're still going to pay $150,000 plus for these trucks. So these are not cheap trucks to get. I mean, think about it. You pay $150,000 for an 18-wheeler. You could have bought a house in the suburbs for the same price. Especially in the South, where I live, $150,000. You live in the suburbs in a very nice house for that kind of money. Yeah, honestly, with my first year, I don't really have anything bad to say about the industry as of right now. Uh, I'll get back to everybody on my channel with more videos. Sorry, it's been a while since I've made one. It just dawned on me today to make a video about my first year in the trucking industry. I may come out with a part 2 to this when I have a little more time to think about everything, and I can kind of pinpoint more specific situations and, you know, specific parts of the industry that may need to be highlighted for newcomers, people who don't have any experience and are dealing with this stuff for the first time. Especially your first year, there's a lot to learn. So honestly, leave a comment in the comment section if you can. Ask me some questions. I can answer those questions in part 2 of this. And I believe that is it for part 1 of my first year review of the trucking industry.